killing people. I mean, it really, look, the only pandemic we have is among the unvaccinated, and they're killing people.
CBS News senior national correspondent Mark Strassman has more from Van Horn, Texas.
COVID has boomeranged. The menace, the masking, the fear, all back. And it's largely a self-inflicted wound across our two Americas.
This is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
As of midnight, Los Angeles reimposed its indoor mask mandate. Las Vegas wants safer odds, now recommending masks in casinos and all indoor spaces. For the first time since January, new weekly COVID cases have jumped in all 50 states, fueled by the Delta variant. Nationally, a spike of almost 70%. Hospitalizations up roughly 36%. Deaths 26%. But in the same week, nationally, new vaccination doses plummeted another 35%. Immunologists say these dots are easy to connect. Take Texas, in the bottom 20 states for its vaccination rate. Week to week, new cases here soared more than 100%. Or consider the sickest COVID patients, the ones in hospitals. Nationwide, 97% of them are unvaccinated.
Let's get rid of the vaccine!
Especially galling to scientists, the relentless campaign of distrust and disinformation against the vaccines. COVID patients are getting younger, more children in the ICU. Florida's rate of new COVID cases 4 times the national average. Governor Ron DeSantis encourages vaccinations, but hawks merchandise online that's anti-Fauci and anti-masking, messaging that resonates with millions of Americans.
I'm just done. I'm vaccinated. I don't need to wear a mask.
Infection surges in places like Tennessee, in the bottom 5 for vaccinating adults. 80% of children here between 12 and 15 are also unvaccinated. But the state has stopped all vaccine outreach to adolescents.
We've got to get folks back into their pediatrician, back into their doctor, and really ensure that they have adequate access to vaccinations and adequate education.
For more, let's bring in CBS News' Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Hey there, Anthony. We heard Mark mention that those low vaccination rates are plummeting. The Biden administration is still pushing its campaign to encourage more people to get the shot. What is the data telling you about vaccines and politics?
Yeah, hey, Lana, and Mark also mentioned this to America's description. You can see some of that in the data, too. First, let me show you, we have tracked all year, and you and I have talked about this, a split somewhat between partisans on whether or not they are vaccinated. And you can see in the latest poll, many more Democrats than Republicans say that they are. Among the holdouts who say they won't get one, Republicans are also disproportionately represented, along with some independents and more conservative independents. That's the partisan breaks and that part of it. The other part that I want to talk about is the way that then goes out to the public health and public policy aspect of this. We're also seeing some partisanship. Take a look at this. Most Republicans now say they feel the Biden administration is doing too much, focusing on trying to get people vaccinated. So that's part of their view on the public policy of it among it all. And then one more thing, this split between who's concerned about the Delta variant in particular. Look at this. You do see a majority, 62% of Americans, saying that they're concerned about it. But the fully vaccinated are more concerned than those who are not vaccinated. And this speaks again to the fact that all through this pandemic, we have seen people who were initially concerned about it and then looked and got themselves vaccinated, and they're the ones who continued to be concerned about it, whereas the not vaccinated are the ones who, in the first place, haven't been as concerned about the outbreak from the get-go. Lana.
The political split is definite, but it's interesting that still the majority of both Republicans and Democrats do believe in the vaccines. Let's talk a little bit more about that group that remain unvaccinated. What more can you tell us about some of the common threads among that population group?
Yeah, and it's not just partisanship. Once you look a little bit deeper, one thing a lot of public health officials I've heard talk about is whether or not it's convenient for people to go and get the shot. Maybe they need 2 doses, have to carve time out of their day. Maybe they can't, go and take time off if they feel like they'll get side effects. Well, we do find that people in the lower income brackets, under $50,000 per year household income, are more likely, if they're not vaccinated yet, to say that they feel it would not be convenient in the process of getting one. So that's part of the public health part here. And then another thing is, attitudinally, what we're seeing is that we've long seen people who are unvaccinated or unwilling to say they're worried about side effects, to say that they don't trust the government or the science behind it. Now, as people get vaccinated, those sentiments become more and more concentrated among the remaining unvaccinated. And that's what we're seeing in some of these trends among their top reasons for saying why they won't. And I think what that implies is that getting that push through and getting more people vaccinated, if that's the administration's goals, becomes harder and harder as the remaining people are more mistrustful, Lana.
Yeah, especially if they're already mistrustful of the Biden administration. Hearing the Biden administration say you should get vaccinated doesn't necessarily move that needle. Anthony, I'm hoping we can talk about something that's also related to the pandemic, which is the economy. The U.S. economy is still recovering from where it was before the pandemic, and we're seeing consistently rising prices on consumer goods. And then, as you know, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is warning that inflation will likely continue for several months. How concerned are the Americans that you polled?
Yeah, let me show you this slide, Lana, and I'll tell you, first of all, overall, people say their own finances are good. That's a majority, and this measure, by the way, is a lot less partisan than national views of the economy, which really split between Democrats and Republicans once you get to that national picture. Their own personal finances, most of them pretty good. But to your question about inflation, yes, this is something that might be looming and might start to bring down those numbers. We're going to have to watch it, because big majorities say the price they're paying for gasoline is going up, the price they're paying for groceries is going up, and also power and electricity. So yes, people are starting to feel that inflation factor. And, when you get then into the administration policy and you talk about what's popular, what the Biden administration is doing, still okay on handling the economy. In particular, though, you do see large numbers who are in support of things like building and repairing roads and bridges, more broadband in rural areas, more child care. All of that, as one part of the economic policy, does get large support, Lana.
That's really interesting, Anthony, because Republican leaders are blaming the rising inflation on the Biden administration's, quote, out-of-control spending. How do voters feel about these ambitious spending proposals? As I can see from the data there, it seems like they're really in favor of most of it. Do they see it tied to this inflation? Are they blaming the administration as Republicans are campaigning on?
Well, it's interesting. I'm glad you asked that, because when you ask about these things in principle, you get the numbers I'm showing you, which are large. But when you ask about Joe Biden's infrastructure proposals and you attach the administration's name to it, you still get majority support, but you don't get numbers quite this high. And that speaks to the amount of partisanship, the partisan cues people use to make decisions about it. And then, of course, once your party or your opposing party's name is attached. So that's one part of it. And then the other thing that I want to show, that's that 59% I was just talking about. And then the other thing I do want to show you is when we're talking about the president, he gets pretty good. He gets good marks on, like I said, handling the economy, good marks, very good marks on handling the pandemic. And he also, as we approach the 6-month mark for his presidency, gets very strong marks for how he handles himself personally. And that's part of underpinning his approval ratings overall, Lana.
Anthony Salvanto, love having you on, love having you explain what's going on behind those numbers. Thanks.